Good morning YouTube, Ryan here, and we're back with another repair video, and basically we are going to upgrade our bushings to polys. As you can see, bushings are nice and fresh, bright red, looking good, little torn up from me getting them in there, but basically I'm here to show you how to do it without any kind of special tools. Now let's look at this old one. Real right out the gate, easy to see this crack right here. You can't see that, you're blind. Don't watch my videos. But you see around here it's starting to dry rot crack as well. It's just kind of chewed up looking. I have this old one here that I've already pulled out, and you see I already cut into it right here, so don't worry about that. But this one as well, starting to crack right across, right in there too. So basically what this will do is when you're driving down the road and these bushings aren't holding tight, say here's your control arm, this is forward, this will be towards the front half of the car, there's your ball joint, your wheel will be over here. As you hit the gas to take off, it'll kick back and forth. Every time you give it gas or let off the accelerator, it'll shift and it'll actually change the alignment. And not only is that not safe, because any kind of play means, you don't have a direct steering, and, indirect steering, that's not where you want to be. You want everything to be nice, tight. You want it to give a little bit, so you don't want to just shove pieces of metal in there and do whatever. This does have to flex up and down, hence that bushing up there at the front. But it's relatively simple to get the bushings out of here. I've already done a video on how to do Mark IV bushings, which it's largely the same. The difference is I'm going to be putting in polys. Now, to make your life easier, I strongly recommend you order these split bushings. These front bushings right here, they can be an absolute nightmare. And I mean just awful. Getting them out's not bad, but getting them back in, they tend to like to lay over, and it's just a lot of extra stuff that you don't really need to go through. These, oh man, these are the way to go. I love this. It's easy to put in, they're easy to take out if you ever been to control arm. This one's a little bit of a monster on its own, but I'll show you what to do. But basically, we're gonna find ourselves a way to set you up here. Now I'm gonna show you what I'm using. I'm using a 32mm great neck, big old socket. I'd recommend getting like a 35 or 36mm. It works a lot better, it's a lot smoother. And then I was going to try and use this, but that ended up being too big, so we went with this. Now essentially, what you're going to do, go ahead and move all this away. Also, don't forget some kind of grease for these bushings, because they'll squeak if you don't do anything about it. Basically, you can see that's just about the size of the bushing with that little rubber lip right in here. Fits right about snug. So basically you want that there, and then you want to take your other socket, come over here to this side, get right here on this metal lip right there. You just want to get as close on it as you can. And you want to do that while sandwiching it with your benchtop vise. I'm going to see what we can do to... Nope, that's not going to work, unfortunately. I should have thought further ahead for this, guys. I hadn't really put much thought into doing a video. Let's see if this will... Holy shit! Who knew a work light would be a good tripod? Alright, well, it's going to be a little far away for you guys to see, but I like to flip it around. Go ahead and open your press. Now, ideally, this isn't the way you want to do it. The way you want to do it, you want to get you a proper bushing push installer, or whatever they want to call it. I don't know. I've seen people call it different things over the years. But, we're broke. So we're doing this, like, on the budget. But basically, you just want to open it up until you got some space. It'll be a little bit of a monster to hold. That's why I couldn't do anything with the phone in my hand. But, there's always a means to an end, so we're going to do this here. Line that up. Now you can see I've got the bushing, well, if I'm not dropping it, I've got the rubber part of the bushing inside of this cup. So that way, when this smaller socket starts to push the bushing through, it'll just go inside of that socket, or at least far enough inside of the socket for us to be able to pull it off and work it out. But you basically just crank away. It'll be difficult. Obviously, if you have a smaller bench vise, it'll be a lot harder. But you just get her all the way as far as you can until the vise bottoms out on the hard metal. Do not force it. You will bend things, and that will ultimately throw off your alignment and really throw a wrench into the gear. So don't do that. Just back her back on off. Pull your socket out. And now you got that. You get it stuck on there, which is why I recommend that 35 or 6 millimeter. But get your meat hooks on it. Might have to press a little bit. Man, this joker's on there. Golly. The first one came out a lot easier. There we go. Well, I guess I'm lucky that time. The bushing actually came out in the socket. Cool. I don't really have anything bad to say about that. I mean, getting the bushing back out is going to be a little bit of a headache, but that's not going to be too bad. Now here's the fun part, getting the big bushing out. I'm actually going to do that on this side. Oh goodness, that noise. Sorry for the noise. It's an old vise, but it's not quite as bad as it's going to be in a minute when I put the saw on. Alright, now, get it nice and tight. Not too tight. You can actually bend this metal, and it's not good when you do. Again, throw off your alignment. It'll just throw that wrench in the gears, bind everything up. No need. So, easiest thing, get you a Sawzall. It's nothing special. It's just a Milwaukee basic. But you want to stick it in here as best you can like that and get it inside of there. And as you do, get it to the base, take her off, and then dig into it. Now, you don't want to cut all the way through. You want to be very careful with this. What you're going to do is you're just going to cut deep enough into this side wall right here to where you can, at that point, bend it by hitting it with a screwdriver, and it'll look something like that, and then it'll just fall out. You don't actually need to cut all the way through this. Just bear with me. Yep, that looks good. I'm going to pick you up for just a second. That way you can see. We'll put that there flash on. Ooh. Alright. Get her to focus on up. You see, I haven't cut all the way through. Looks like it. But I'm just barely shy of being into the control arm. So now we're going to come back up here. Turn you a little bit. Alright. That is where you take your screwdriver. I'm just using a basic big old flathead from Craftsman. Nice heavy-ish hammer. And you want to get up underneath this lip. Give it a tap. You see how it folded in right there? Now we've got worker all around. Now we can try and... Oh, well, that's how bad the bushing was. See? There we go. Nice and easy. Now that's how you get them out. Oh, pat yourself on the back because this has gone much smoother. If you're at the 10-minute mark with me and you've got both of your bushings out and you've been balancing a cell phone to try and record this for all your Volkswagen buddies, you're doing great. Now comes the fun part. Now you take your new bushings, like to slide these little shafts out. Shaft. Set that to the side. Take you a little bit of grease. I'm using ultra quiet, ultra disc brake lubricant, whatever. The reason I'm using it is because any kind of grease that has to do with braking systems is going to be very high temperature. So anything you can throw this car into temp-wise, this grease will handle. Because braking systems can reach 1,000 degrees really easily under really, really heavy braking. These bushings will never reach 1,000 degrees, so this grease will never go away. But you want to make sure you get it all around the mating surface of where it's going to be reached up in here. And you also want to try and get the leading edge that you're going to be pressing into the control arm. You want to get that right up in here, just like this. You repurpose some of this grease if you need to. Sorry about my camera skills. I'm doing this alone today, so it's not ideal. But, you know, just spread that grease around really nicely. You want to make sure there's plenty of it. And then you get it up here and you see, oh man, it doesn't fit. So we're going to turn us just a little bit. We'll loosen up on our bench vise now. Now would be a good time to clean up if you were going to. Move some of your tools, put some of your tools away. Doing it all at once at the end tends to drain and seem rather mundane, because it's like, oh man, I've worked so hard and now shit, I gotta clean up. But you know, it comes with the territory. We're not quite there yet, so keep on backing her out. Alright, now once you're at this stage, I want you to be as careful as you can, because you can mess this up really, really easily. But pay attention. I'm trying my very best to keep it in the very middle. And now, as you watch, this thing may dip in one side or the other, and if it does, I'll show you. But get it real nice and even. Be nice and slow. Be very gradual with this. Any kind of shock may make one side versus another go in, and that's not what you want to have happen. You want the whole thing to go in. Now that we're in, we're lipped. Alright, so now we're bellied and we can manipulate it just a little bit. So pinch down on the control arm bushing and you'll see it's on there, but it's not quite seated. So what are we going to do about that? Well, what we're going to do about that, we're going to take this here screwdriver, we're going to stick it in here, and we're going to try and manipulate this all at once. So now comes the fun part, and this is probably where you won't see much of what I'm doing, but I'm trying to get as much of it in here as I can. But basically you want to brace the control arm any way you can. Step into whatever side the bushing is in most at. So you see it's leaning this way, which means more of the bushing is seated on this side. So you want to bring that through so you can try and seat the back side. And an easy way to do this is to pull on it towards you and work it just a little bit. Once you get that lip to come through, which it would help if the base of the vise wasn't moving, help a lot. But basically you can kind of go back and forth until you get that lip in there. Ah, damn you, little booger. Give you a little tap, tap, tap with the hammer. We're on in there, and then once you've got enough of it in there like you think you need, come back to this back side and push all the way. Now this may take some wrestling, but if you're slow and methodical with it, you can slowly walk this thing right on, and then the front part of the bushing will actually be really basic. And you'll know once it sets in there, because it'll kind of seat just a little bit. There we go. And now we got a good bit of it in there. Oh man, I tell you what, again, that was a little more difficult than the first one. So be prepared to potentially fight this thing. Be prepared to kind of get frustrated, because it's, you know, a lot of this stuff, when it comes to this car stuff, a lot of it's experience. I've been doing this for a almost 14 years now. And so I've seen on my own a lot of different situations pop up from different repairs going in directions you'd never think they'd go. Like a brake job turning into an entire control arm and strut assembly going into it simply because they thought they had this one problem, but when really they had a whole nother problem. But now you're ready to put a little bit of grease on this inside shaft. And, you know, just a good little dollop's worth. It doesn't take much. Just got working on out there. Yeah, just like that. Just get on there best you can. It doesn't have to be perfectly spread out. You just want to make sure that there's at least grease on every surface that's going to make contact with this bushing, because any surface that's dry is a surface that can squeak, and you do not want it squeaking, because poly bushing squeak without grease is awful. It'll sound like you got a bad ball joint. It's gross. Alright, now we have that bushing installed. So now we're going to move back over to this one. I'm going to try and get this here bench vise again. We're just going to set this right here like that, and I'm going to walk you through the front process, because I think you'll like this one. The front process is super Gucci as far as ease and, oh man. This is why you buy the split bushings, by the way. So you make sure you take your bushing, get you a good little dollop of grease on it, smear it all around, and this time you want to get it all the way around, and you want to make sure you get a good coating, because this is the bushing that's going to move the most. This one deals with the up and down motion when you hit a bump or the suspension needs to articulate. This is the one that goes up and down with the control arm. The other one, it flexes a bit, but it's meant to stay where it's at, and that's why it's made of what it's made. But you ready for this? You ready for this? Oh, it's fighting. Oh, it's fighting. Oh, it's fighting so hard. Two hands. Oh, man, look at that. Look at that. Ooh, don't drop the control arm. These things are kind of fragile. They'll bend really easily. But you do the same thing again. Get you some grease. Smear it on there. Get her on spread out. Get it up inside of that hole. Dirty joke. Dirty joke. And then, boop. Now we're in. And just for good measure, even though we already put some grease inside of there, we are still going to grease this here shaft. We're going to make sure we get plenty on there. A lot of it's going to come out, but this has grooves inside of it, so it'll hold a lot of this grease. But the point is, this grease is really sticky, and it likes to stick to that metal surface. So as long as you get that metal surface good and coated, it'll transfer to the polys and inside of the poly channels, which will make just a little bitty reservoir of grease. So that's why you want to put some inside before and some on this before. And then you put the whole thing together, slide her right on in there. And now I've noticed it is a little tight to get it in here. It's not going to hurt to take your hammer, put your hand on the back, and just hammer that in smooth. And then go to your back side, make sure that the bushing is nice and still in there. And now you want to get it as even as possible. So just, you know, put your hands on it, feel this lip right here on the side of the bushing. Feel it on both sides. Make sure that shaft's as centered as you're going to be able to get it. And that's pretty much that. Your bushings are installed. You're making money now. Like, that was 19 minutes with a bench vise, a sawzall, and some basic sockets and stuff. Like, that's not bad. If you were at a shop and a guy put you on some control arm bushings and he didn't tell you anything about any of these tools, and you went and did this and he saw you doing this, you might actually impress him, because it's not difficult to think a bench top vise has the pressure or the force to be able to push a bushing in or out. I mean, you just have to make sure it's beefy enough. You know, a good solid one like this is a good, I don't know, 1/2 inch. worth of metal right there, being able to turn that, which means the gear inside is going to be pretty big. The screw that goes all the way through is going to be pretty big, but I mean, 20 minutes and boom, you're done. And now you can go throw them back up in the car and you've made your shop some money, or you've saved yourself some money. Either way, it doesn't matter. This has been Mark III control arm bushing install, removal and install. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm up for any kind of information that you may need. Drop a comment. I'll answer as quickly as I can. If you have any ideas of some repairs that you may have to do but are kind of worried about doing and would like to try and see me do it first, I'm doing all this with basic hand tools. I'm not using any special equipment. I don't have a shop. I don't work at a shop. This is all stuff with tools from Lowe's and Home Depot and, you know, the secondhand store. Like, this is all very basic stuff. So I'm more than happy to put my skills to the test on different people's needs. So definitely let me know what's up. And as always, have a great one. I hope this helped you and hope to see you next time. Thanks, YouTube. Bye-bye.